Hi, my name is Rechun Fujihira. I am a co-founder of Box Jelly. We are a co-working space located in Honolulu, Hawaii.
My name is Shanah and I'm one of the co-founders and one of the co-directors of Impact Hub Honolulu, another co-working space hoping to open also somewhere in Kakako.
So Box Jelly started probably in 2010, and me and my co-founder Tony Stanford both kind of got together and had a lunch. And during this lunch, he told me about his idea of creating an airport lounge outside of an airport. I thought it was crazy, but put me on his team. So we'd both been in China, and he had this kind of experience at an airport lounge where he got a lot of work done, met a lot of people. At the same time, when I was in China, I went to a co-working space, but I didn't know what it was called. It was called Jindan Wei, but I didn't understand the concept. I saw a bunch of interesting people working there. Pulled out the postcard that I got from Jindan Wei, said, "It's like this place?" and explained what it was, and he said yes. So we went ahead and for his senior project in the Hogan Entrepreneurship Program at Shanah University, we started doing research on this airport lounge and found out this concept called co-working, and proceeded to do that for our project and launched in 2011 as a pop-up space. And now we're a permanent location here in Kakako, about 6,500, 6,000 square feet.
So I had a sustainability consulting firm, and we would range between 2 and 10 staff depending on the types of contracts we had. And since we're in the field all the time, we didn't really have the ability to justify a brick and mortar, but we had outgrown coffee shops. And I was going to a conference in San Francisco, and someone said, "You should go check out the Impact Hub as a solution to your business." When I walked in and I saw hundreds of people all working on social and environmental challenges through entrepreneurship, I just felt like this would be so wonderful in Hawaii. And I found out there was dozens of them around the world in major cities as part of a global network, and I thought maybe we should have Impact Hub Honolulu. And when I came back and started talking about this idea to my networks, which were pretty broad in terms of sustainable businesses across the state, people said, "What about Box Jelly?" And I hadn't heard of Box Jelly before. And so I didn't know if it was the same thing or not. And I heard it so much, I just reached out to Rechun and said, "Hi, my name's Shanah. I'm thinking about doing something similar to you're doing. I just want to come in and talk to you."
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a hub before. I went to the hub in Soma. So
That's the same one in San Francisco I went to.
that's the same
Yeah, I
one.
think so,
Okay. Yeah. It was pretty. It was an interesting place, right? It was actually an amazing place because when you walk in the place, there's this kind of energy,
Yeah.
and the type of people that are there. When you talk to them, they're like all working on like really cool stuff that have to do with saving the world,
Yeah.
basically.
Did you think of
Um,
it as being similar to to Box Jelly? Did you think of them as being similar? Or?
Yeah, I mean, they were similar, but the scale of the Soma hub was just so large, and it was like obvious they put a lot of money into like the build out of the
Yeah.
space, and so it was this huge, nice space. Yeah, so I just kind of remember that energy and the vibe of what happened when we gone there, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And of course, as a business person, there's like a little bit of concern, right? So it's like, okay, like how does
Sure,
that?
like more than a little bit, even.
Yeah, you're just kind of thinking like, okay, what does this mean, right? Or
Yeah.
like how does having another co-working space could affect the market?
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, we'd had this happen before. It wasn't the first time that we had a co-working space enter the market, and a lot of times it's more about, for us here at Box Jelly, it's about like how we execute what we do is the most important, and it can get very distracting when you're always looking at what the person next to you is doing. It's kind of like in yoga, if you're like watching the person next to you, it's not going to work out too well, right? So there was a little bit of that, and I thought it was really cool that you reached out. And
Was that unique compared to the other co-working spaces that came online?
yeah, I mean, there was some co-working spaces before that was a lot more competitive, and then there was another co-working space that I had my people help them out, and then they kind of like just took a lot of stuff that we did without really asking. That was really weird.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was different.
So you've had different scenarios of new spaces coming on, people either like trying to just compete with you or kind of trying to take, and then how did it feel when we came up to you and
Yeah, I mean,
started the conversation?
Yeah, you know, like I said, there's a little bit of concern, but at the same time, you know, for our mission, right, our mission is to help make Hawaii become the best place to work and the best place to live. It makes sense that there are multiple spaces, like even if it, you know, because it's a part of that, and also, you know, kind of like what I was saying before, I knew like if we were to execute, you know, as Bach Shelley, if we execute what we do, probably be okay, you
Yeah.
know, and there were a lot of mistakes that we made that didn't really need to be repeated, you know, so it's like, okay, well, you know, this is kind of things that worked and what didn't, and you know, even kind of how our financials, like what's focused on and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, like don't waste your time on this and
Yeah.
waste your money on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's okay. It's good. Yeah.
I remember our conversation where I said, if we open and you close, this is not success.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember you saying that.
And I was like, I don't know how to monitor that. I don't know how to make sure that doesn't happen, but my hope would be that the pie would get bigger rather than us take this slice and just try to divvy it up between two people, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I also felt like, from what I was learning about the other impact hubs around the world, that after 2 start, then there's often like 10 and a dozen within 5 years.
Sure.
And so I thought, if you and I could do it right, then the 10 that come after us would maybe do it collaboratively as well. So that as there's a new co-working space, there's also 10 more co-workers. And that the whole movement in the pie of co-workers gets bigger and bigger into the time where like, it's not, you know, what's co-working in Hawaii, but like, where do you co-work? What's your co-working space? So that was one of the hopes. But I remember saying to you, like, do we need this? And I remember like you like super gently sat back and you were like, I don't know. And it was just, we both didn't know. Yeah.
It's kind of like
I think we
before.
agreed to share resources. We agreed to like share what we were learning, and that I was going to go to the conference. I was going to go to the induction conference. And everyone told me, no, there's going to be a dozen in your region, and if you, that's where that all came from.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
So.
With Proto Hub, you know, we're both kind of working on building, you know, building community, you know, so it's kind of like a sibling kind of thing, I guess, you know. And, you know, I guess the main thing with us is just communication, right? And we just keep talking and finding ways where it makes sense to work together, and also raising awareness of co-working in general, because it's still, the competition really isn't with you or with other spaces. It's really, you know, our customers are still in their homes, and most of them aren't aware of co-working, so that's kind of like the first priority, is to get people understanding that there is this thing called co-working and these communities, and they can come out and join them. And then with the other spaces, I don't know, it's a space by space thing. Like some spaces, you know, it's been like really competitive, you know, and it can be stressful, but it's also kind of fun.
Like I like the idea of the, like, when we do co-opetition, it's less stressful.
It's less stressful.
So talk about that a little bit. Like,
Okay.
compare, like, how do you compare those two things?
Yeah, so kind of like when I was saying earlier, when you're doing like straight competition, it can become an obsession, right? And you just want to like beat another opponent, whatever, if it's co-working or whatever. But you know, what we're doing, the goal or the purpose is kind of fosters community and help the people in our space. So those two things don't necessarily align, right? So the thing that's going to make you, you know, be more profitable or put the other guy in business or whatever, out of business, whatever, isn't necessarily the thing that's going to help develop your coworkers. So
Just because you take someone else down doesn't mean that your business builds up.
Yeah, like it's not. It doesn't. Sometimes it's parts of it align, but it doesn't necessarily align, and I think it can be a big distraction, especially if you're like a mission-driven company.
That's a good point. It starts taking up a lot of bandwidth, constantly trying to think of the counter move. And
or saying, oh, we got a red couch. They got a red couch, and you get mad, and it's just like wasting energy being mad. When there are things that you could do for your community that are a lot of, I don't know, just more helpful in general.
Yeah. I like when people would come in and they say, the space feels overwhelming to me, like I just really want to put my head down and focus, or I like being in, is there a smaller room that there can be more of like a collective vibe, and I'd be like, you know what, you might like box jelly, and I like knowing what your niche is and what you offer and the different vibe that it is. And then we would have people that came in that would say, box jelly told us to come down here, and I would say, oh, why, what are you into? And they're like, I asked if they had yoga, and they knew that you guys did yoga sometimes. So it's just, I always thought of it as like, if you have an area of the city that has like one coffee shop or one restaurant, that gets some sort of movement of people going to that area. But if you put in like 2 or 3 of them, all of a sudden it's a little area to go to, and you pick your flavor and what you want. And so I've always hoped that we would, I really do believe actually, in 5 years we're going to need about a dozen co-working spaces across the state, of all different sizes, of all different flavors and niches. And I hope that we all understand what we do and are able to say, oh, you would make a lot of sense over there. And what we've been doing with HTDC and the Manoa Innovation Center is allowing our members to move between the 2 of them, so that if you're a member at one, you can go to the other, that sort of thing. And then we had the program that we attempted to, where people would start at the hub doing part of the program, walk down to box jelly, finish with drinks here. And I feel like that is so much more opportunity for that. And what other things are beneficial that you can think of?
Like working together instead of you have a louder voice, right? So whether you're trying to talk to potential coworkers or some other type of community or legislature, stuff like that, when you work together, you have a louder voice. Just
does that benefit you, or does that harm you?
I could see how it could benefit.
I think one way I remember benefiting is that we had the Monday email that would go out to a lot of people, and we would promote box jelly events, for example.
Those are good. Those are good for everybody.
That was kind of good for everyone, because we would just take everyone's stuff from all the ecosystem and just try to get it out to everyone. We tried to do that as like a service for the ecosystem, but we just wanted to make sure that that a loud voice can be good and bad. So how can we use it for good? The question we're always asking ourselves.
No, I agree. I think with anything, you probably want to be a little bit careful who you partner with, right? Because you can have friends that totally suck as people, and that kind of drags you down, in whatever aspect. But as long as everybody's reasonable and you line up, it works out well.
I like what you said about communication. Just staying in communication, like, we're about to make this move, how would that affect you?
Those kind of things are really helpful. And it also clears things up. Well, there's a couple things, right? So in the lens of competition, when you don't know the people that you're dealing with well, then they're kind of like an anonymous kind of entity, right? So it's easier to dehumanize them and then just want to attack, right? But
and also assume the worst of their moves.
Assume the worst. Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of like this weird. It creates a weird dynamic, right? So, but when you communicate, hang out, have wine or whatever, talk story, then I think it just adds a human element that's helpful for everybody.
And then if there's confusion, you can just talk real quick.
You don't
having to set up a long meeting or.
You could just text them and say, hey, what's up? Hop on the phone or whatever.
I remember we had a monthly wine down event every third Thursday, I think, and the Rock started doing the same event every third Thursday. Because we had met them and we had had drinks with them and we knew their spirit behind it, we were just like, they just don't know. that
Yeah.
were doing it. They didn't go, oh, let's do it at the same time as the hub. And so we just reached out and said, oh, hey, you guys, did you realize? And they were like, oh my gosh, sorry, we didn't know. Should we switch it? And we're like, no, just it's okay. Your community can meet then. Maybe we can merge sometimes. Like, that's a main difference. Is you just kind of assume the best, or you reach out and talk before you just assume the worst. Yeah. What else could we tell people out there about co-opetition versus competition? What would be like valuable for new entrepreneurs to understand about that? Like, what do they gain and lose?
Yeah, I mean, each has its own kind of strengths and weaknesses, and I think it also depends on like the personality of the people.
Sure.
Right. So. Yeah, I mean, some people probably would benefit from doing a competition route, or they benefit or whatever. But I think overall, it just, like, even when you look on like a macro level, when there's some kind of cooperation in between different businesses, countries, whatever, it seems to benefit everybody more. So why not just use that model?
Sure, I agree. Yeah, I think if I were to try to answer that question, I'd be like, instead of assuming the pie is finite and trying to squabble over it, which creates intense energy within your team and between other groups, why not work together to grow the pie? And like, since you have a shared mission, why not put forces together and accomplish that mission together? And then stay in collaboration so that you do events separately, and so that you find your niche and everyone knows what flavor you represent and they can find their way to you. So those, I think, are the main ones. Plus, it's just more fun.
It's more. It's more fun.
And creativity happens too. Like, we creatively thought of things, and that we went to, and innovation happens with us and between us, and all of those things. But what I do really hope is that we do have more spaces, and that they come on in the same way and with the same spirit.
Well, it will happen. I can't see it not happening.
Because then, instead of, I feel like collectively we could have quite a voice as well. So if we were a dozen co-working spaces and we had a co-working collective that met once a month, and you know, we would actually have quite a bit of power at the ledge, I think, to be able to go and say, you know, can all co-workers in the state have discounted bus passes or something that allows them to commute to these locations more? Could they, you know, they want to do a day of service together. Can you help us coordinate that, or can we go to a funding source and say, fund all of us to be able to do this collective thing we want to do? When you start gathering people that are collaboratively aligned within the organizations and between organizations, the types of things we could do together for the state, it just starts to get really exciting. I feel it's years away, but
definitely. It's just, as long as everyone can stay on the same page, that's a key.
Do you think that's realistic?
Yes and no.
You've seen it both ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yes and no. Like, to have everyone always on the same page, probably not. But can the majority be able to talk like reasonable people? I think so.
And if there's some sort of precedent set where some of them are working that way, I mean, we have the Rock, we have Minnow Innovation Center, we have Box Jelly, we have the Hub, and all four are in communication and conversation. Looking for ways to collaborate. So there's already gravity in that direction. So new people that come into the orbit, hopefully, there's a better chance of that happening. But I guess time will tell. I mean, you could easily have another group come in and not want to do that, and then it would be interesting.
I mean, there will be, you know, like, there's just, like, everyone kind of chooses to do business, play their game or whatever differently. So but I think as long as we do a good job at what we're doing and we're getting the mission done.
Agreed.
I guess the first thing would be that everyone has ideas, but it's not easy to execute. Most good ideas are not easy to execute. And usually when you share, you know, in order to take the time, like, someone to really steal your idea, take the time to execute it, I don't think it's very likely. You know, I think it's like the least of your problems. And I think there's more more chance that they're gonna go out of their way to try to help you than they are to try to steal your idea. So I would just share it, and I think it also has to do with like how, if you're able to like get it done, right? Because like if you know that you're able to execute on a level that's high, then you shouldn't have to worry about anybody else doing it anyways. It's kind of like Elon Musk and all his like patents and stuff, right? Like he'll just like open up his patents, like go for it, because it just for more people to adopt those things, it's beneficial for everybody, right? And I think he knows that his company is able to deliver a strong product, so he should be fine. And yeah, if you're not good at what you do, then you probably should keep it a secret.
That's a good point. Yeah, I was at a startup conference where someone got on the microphone and said, we all know here, as if it was like common knowledge, that it's not the idea, it's the executor. Yeah, he said the same thing. He's like, these ideas lied around for a long time, and then whoever picked it up and ran with it is the one that really made it happen. And so I think that's kind of part of the entrepreneurship culture, is more sharing.
I agree.
Like when people want to protect their idea, I feel it's a little green. I always feel like they're a little green. When they're like, I got to keep this quiet in case someone steals it. I'm always like, oh, you're kind of new to this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what your idea is, but it's like even with co-working, it's not like very complicated. There are things you have to do, but at the same time, it's not like it's easy, and that's that's the difference,
Says the guy that's had the 5-year co-working space in Hawaii and no one's made it past a year, including us.
Still going. Still going.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I remember you telling me how hard it was, and you were like proud of me. Like when it was going, you're like, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
That was really sweet.
Yeah, no, it's good to see it when people go for it and keep going.
It meant the world to me when you said that, because I felt like there's one person in this place that knows.
Yeah.
And so when you say it, it's like you know what you're talking about when you say it.
Battle scars.
Yeah. I think we didn't even mention that part about competition, is you have camaraderie.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not alone anymore.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Like when we'd meet for lunch or something, we talk about what's going on. It felt really comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are not a lot of people who understand what you go through.
Totally.
So it's nice to be able to talk to someone.
Yeah. And it made me excited when I'd go to a conference and I'd learn something new, or we'd try something new, and I'd see you and I'd go, oh, you should try this, or you should do that.
Yeah, those little things. Sometimes it's just that little tweak that makes all the difference, right?
Yeah, and being able to share, so.
The early one was the idea that we are going to do a bunch of pop-up spaces, right? So originally it was like we're going to make all these pop-up spaces, but we had to kind of adjust because people just didn't know about co-working, and it was just a lot. Building the infrastructure and creating community was a lot more difficult than we had anticipated. Yeah.
It's not just build that they will come.
No, it's not. Yeah.